in the United Arab Emirates, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, to our friends in the United States, and everyone else that might be joining from in between. Welcome to today's webinar on Abu Dhabi's global tech ecosystem and how US entrepreneurs can tap into its many, many benefits. My name is Danny Seabright. I'm president of the US UAE Business Council. We're based in Washington, DC, but we work extensively in the broader UAE and Middle East region. Today, I'm joined by key stakeholders from Hub71's tech ecosystem, who will share insights into how to access capital and take advantage of market opportunities and penetrate global markets from Hub71. Hub71, which is located in the heart of Abu Dhabi, is a flagship initiative of the UAE's AED $50 billion, that's 13.6 billion US dollars, Hub71 Accelerator Program, inaugurated in March 2019 with the support of strategic partners Mubarak, SoftBank Vision Fund, Microsoft, ADGM, and Abu Dhabi Investment Office. Hub71 has quickly become a global leader in supporting innovation in the tech sector. In August of 2020, Hub71 announced a partnership with Silicon Valley-based TechWadi. TechWadi builds connections and partnerships for entrepreneurs and investors across Silicon Valley and the Middle East, North Africa region through conferences, networking events, workshops, and mentorship programs. Today's webinar is brought to you by this key partnership. Thank you all for joining us for this important discussion. I will begin by introducing our panelists. We will then begin a conversation on opportunities for US entrepreneurs at Hub71. Please make use of the chat function to ask any questions. We will do our best to answer all audience questions. Without further ado, please welcome today's distinguished panelists. As head of strategy and corporate development at Hub71, Ahmed Alwan looks after the Tech Hub's operational and organizational strategic direction and various programs and corporate functions, from design to implementation. Prior to this, Ahmed supported the strategic development and launch of Abu Dhabi Catalyst Partners, a $1 billion fund launched at Abu Dhabi Global Market aimed at boosting opportunities in the Emirate across asset management, specifically finance and financial infrastructure, in addition to other sectors. Ahmed has also served as vice president with Mubarak's portfolio strategy team, where he worked on formulating the corporate strategy and overlaying internal and stakeholder objectives, and supporting Mubarak's leadership with certain projects. Mubarak is the co-chair of our board of directors and is also a very, very close partner. We are really happy to have Ahmed with us today. May Habib is co-founder and CEO of Writer.com, an AI writing assistant that helps digital teams take control of content and produce impactful copy at scale. Previously, May was a vice president at Mubarak and an investment banker focused on tech, M&A with Lehman Brothers and Barclays Capital, based in New York. May graduated from Harvard, magna cum laude, and is secretary of her class. She's a member of the World Economic Forum, a fellow of the Aspen Global Leadership Network, and a board member of TechWadi. Amir Alahi is a senior principal at Mubarak Capital's venture arm. He has worked at Mubarak for the past 12 years in several positions, including acquisitions and investment management and real estate and hospitality. He also serves on the boards of Tier Mobility, Europe's leading provider of micro-mobility, and WeFox Group, a digital platform that connects insurance providers, distributors, and customers. Amr holds a BBA in Business Administration from the American University in Beirut. And finally, John Hensel, a co-founder of Securency, serves as the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Revenue Officer of Securency. He leads global business operations for Securency's international team based in Abu Dhabi, as well as Securency's global client and investor relationships. John served in the US Navy for over 20 years as an aviator and a major defense acquisition program manager. John, I have to say this, thank you for your service. John is a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy and has advanced degrees from the Naval War College and Johns Hopkins University. So with that, everyone, welcome our panelists, and let's kick off the conversation now by discussing the role of public-private partnerships in Abu Dhabi's tech sector. As many know, the government of Abu Dhabi plays an instrumental role in supporting Abu Dhabi's technology scene as part of its economic diversification efforts. Partnerships with the private sector have featured prominently in its overall strategy. Hub71, of course, is a perfect example, as its founding partners include Mubarak, as I said earlier, as well as companies like Microsoft. Ahmed, from the perspective of Hub71, can you share with us some of the ways in which these public-private partnerships spur innovation and support Abu Dhabi's digital transformation for the future?
Firstly, thank you so much, Danny. Really humbled to be on this panel with this distinguished set of my peers and colleagues. This is extended family, effectively. To get into your question specifically, partnerships in general is key and is drives the ethos of what Hub71 is about. We are really about formulating and forging the best partnerships for our community of startups and our network of enablers and partners to thrive and flourish throughout them. I should say, and thank you for the introduction earlier, where you greatly described Hub71's mission, which is to drive and enable the tech ecosystem out of Abu Dhabi. And what you quickly realize in this journey, that it is partnerships is critical and it's key to see that ecosystem right. It's all about whether it's in formal setting or whether it's in informal setting. When we talk about public-private partnerships, it's just highlighting the importance of having not only kind of formulating the partnerships among peers within a kind of private setting, but how important of an element the public sector plays in driving those partnerships. So we are a government-backed an initiative that aims to really bring in a lot of different elements from the governmental and regulator side into this ecosystem to help streamline the journey of establishment and really tackle any hurdles that exist. And partnerships, very close partnerships, are critical to that. And you named a few: our relationship with the Gadan program, our relationship with the Mubadala, our close tie-in with the ADGM, Abu Dhabi Global Market, which is a regulator, the financial free zone regulator in Abu Dhabi. All of these contribute and spur the growth required for the innovation ecosystem here. Beyond that, we work with different players. So when we think about how we work, how we want to enable our startups and what's important to them, identifying and working closely with corporates, for example, from a market access perspective, is critical to these success. So we work, we have an active corporate engagement program where we have a number of corporates where we not only make introductions. Introductions is obviously part of that journey, but we really want to bridge that gap between the startup and these corporates that some of them are different at different stages of technology consumption, but we want to keep growing that bridge. But really everyone within our communities, our network, our funds, our talent providers, we consider partners. This is a journey. The driving and building a tech ecosystem to see growth is a journey, and we do consider everyone who contributes and work with us as a partner in the broader sense.
Ahmed, thank you very much, and I'm really gratified to hear you underscore the importance of partnerships. I have to tell you that from all of my work in the U.S. With the U.S. UAE Business Council, the issue of partnerships and the importance of partnerships just comes through and through and through, and it's so very, very important. May, it's nice to see your face again. I'm not sure where or when we last met or had the chance to talk with each other, but great to see you on the call. Given your experience, May, at Mubarak and current board position on TechWadi, how have U.S. businesses in particular partnered with the Abu Dhabi government and its related entities? And what have been some of the outcomes of these partnerships? And if you allow me to just add on, we have a question also from the audience, which you can answer as part of your answer. How many American USA startups have been accepted into Hub71's incentives program? Thank you, May. May, you're on mute. There you go.
so much. It's wonderful to be here. Definitely old friends, as Ahmed said. Danny, I have no idea what Abu Dhabi house party we met at years ago, but we definitely have met before. I had the privilege and honor of feeling like I was among the first boots on the ground in the early days of the development of some of the really landmark UAE-US partnerships that both in ethos and in scale really set the tone for a lot of what's happened over the past decade. And I think so key to the folks on the call who are applying to the Hub71 program or seek to do business in the UAE and Abu Dhabi in particular, is that this is the most entrepreneurial city and nation in the world. And I think some of the early landmark deals that I worked on with a lot of folks on this call, whether it was Cleveland Clinic or the investment in Global Foundries. I mean, we now have, tens of billions of dollars between the two countries. And what has been so cool to see over the past decade is how these relationships have gone from, government to government, top down, to a lot of the bottoms up and kind of organic growth and partnership that we're seeing now, as evidenced by Hub71 and the interest that so many startups have taken in establishing in Abu Dhabi. In terms of that number, Ahmed is probably a better person to answer that. We are certainly at TechWadi incredibly proud of our relationship with Hub71. We've had a great role in the Valley of being a bridge between the Middle East and the tech ecosystem here, be it folks from the region who are working in tech, tech companies here who want to go to the region. It's been fun for me to kind of, be in both ecosystems, both as an entrepreneur and as an ambassador and cheerleader for our UAE ecosystem. So just so many cool things have happened between the two countries, and it's just the beginning. I mean, we are barely scratching the surface here.
I understand, and there's a lot more surface to scratch for sure, given all the exciting developments that are happening. Ahmed, do you want to put a one-finger intervention in there and say the number of American companies that you have going on at the moment that you've given incentive to?
Sure. There are two statistics I guess it's tricky when you're kind of thinking about Hub71. I'll explain why. Two statistics by founders, and happy to say so. We, the U.S. national, we have multiple nationalities. U.S. is tops that, so we have the most number of U.S. Founders out of all of this. So this top country where we have founder representation more than any regional countries, including the UAE. And in terms of a company that had headquarters in the US and relocated to Hub71, it comes in. We had a lot of. There's number one is the UAE, so we did see a lot of kind of a transition from the UAE, and followed by the US. And it's about 10 startups that or 10 startups that have relocated from the US to be part of the Hub71 ecosystem.
Thank you. That's very important. Appreciate the statistic. John, we're going to turn to you as a leader of a U.S. tech company that's sort of established and opening an office at Hub71. To give us a little bit of your of the background and your sense of that experience and how it went. How did you make the decision to open an office in Hub71 in Abu Dhabi, and how have you interfaced with the Abu Dhabi government and broader tech ecosystem since opening the office? Just give us a little flavor of your journey. Things that surprised you, things that made you feel warm inside, please.
Oh, thanks, Danny. I appreciate it. And echoing Ahmed's and May's comments, it's great to be a part of this event, and really a great deal of credit due to the early leaders that were involved in establishing the conditions that have built this amazing environment and an amazing community to be a part of. A little bit of background on Securency and our journey. So we're a 5-year-old company. We're actually celebrating our 5th anniversary next month. We were founded in 2015 in the United States as a Delaware C Corp. In 2017, as we started to look internationally for opportunities for growth, as a financial services market infrastructure company, we anticipate our customer base being global, and we wanted to establish an international headquarters. And we decided that in evaluating a number of markets, Singapore, Switzerland, London, and others, we concluded that the UAE and specifically Abu Dhabi was where we would call a home for our international headquarters. Along the way, we established a fantastic rapport with the Financial Services Regulatory Authority in the Abu Dhabi global market, which led to opportunities like access to a regulatory sandbox, exposure to the regulators that would be responsible for the environment in which our technology would support, and a number of other great opportunities. One of those great opportunities was the opportunity to participate in and be selected into the Hub71 community in late 2019. And it's been a real game changer for us. We've had fantastic opportunity to attract members of our team from Europe, from Africa, from the United States, to come and join us here in Abu Dhabi. We've now grown our team to almost 25 employees that are supporting us as engineers, as business development, as other services that help our company grow. In fact, the majority of our company is now present in Abu Dhabi, which is a real proud accomplishment for us. Now, you were inquiring a little bit about our decision to make Hub71 a home. There's a lot of things here that founders should be thinking about. Certainly, resource management is always key with the management of funds that come through capital raises and the growth of a company. And Mubadala is a tremendous resource here. Through the Hub71 incentives program, we have an opportunity to receive incentives that help us with management of our team and our growth. So housing subsidies for employees, health insurance benefits, opportunity to have access to really a world-class office facility in Hub71 and the WeWork complex here in Al Khatam Tower. All of these conditions are very, very attractive for us to build our team. It's a great environment for our employees. They find it very attractive. And it gives us access to other founders that we can collaborate with and kind of share our experiences and also access to venture capital firms that have called Hub71 and Abu Dhabi home. So this has been a tremendous environment for us, and one I highly encourage any US founder or any founder tuning in from around the world to explore the opportunities that the Hub71 program has to offer.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I was having a little bit of a problem there with the mute button. John, that's a very compelling story, and I think there's a lot to unpack there, especially with a number of companies that might be thinking about coming to Abu Dhabi and coming to Hub71 in the future. As before we move on to the next round of questions, there was 1 or 2 questions about money. Everybody always wants to know about funding and money. So I'm just going to put these up here real quickly and see if anybody wants to jump at them. The one was, do you need to have raised money to join Hub71? And the other one about money is, do you fund moonshots? Is that in anyone, is Ahmed or May, or whose wheelhouse might those 2 questions be in real quickly?
I can take the first one. So we have 2 as part of our application process. Firstly, I should say that for if you want deep dives into the Hub71 application process and what it takes and the kind of full journey, and I'd like to break openness to answer all your questions, we do have bi-weekly info sessions through our LinkedIn page. So I would encourage you to subscribe there and check it out. I think the next one is on the 28th. So next week, we had one last week. I'll try to address as much of these as I can here. We have 2 categories for our incentive program, seed and emergent. At seed stage, the minimum funding requirement is $100,000 to have seen. At the emergent stage, it's between It's more than $500,000. Our website has all of that detail. On the seed stage, we can be flexible. I must be honest. That's just allows us to kind of help us. But when we see funding in the startups, allows us to filter and validate kind of that business. So I do encourage you to attend these kind of sessions. Let's build out the relationship with you and explore how it is that we can work together.
Okay, May, did you want to add something, or did Ahmed cover it for you?
Oh, he's definitely the expert on Hub71.
All right. Okay, very good. We're going to go on to the next series of questions, and I'm going to go out of order just a little bit, May and Amr, because we haven't had Amr in the conversation yet, so I'm going to get him to speak next, if that's okay. Is that the Grand Mosque in the background there, Amr? It's so beautiful at night. Are you live, or is that virtual?
Yeah, no, that's my actual background. I'm sitting right in front of it.
Wow, wow, absolutely amazing, everyone. Look at that. If you had that out your window every day and every night, how could you not be inspired? That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Amr, I've had the privilege of being in San Francisco with Waleed and with Ibrahim, and to visit the offices there. And Abu Dhabi's become a major global tech hub, but still Abu Dhabi recognizes that there's a lot that can be learned from US tech hubs like Silicon Valley. And Mubarak Capital Ventures has its location in San Francisco now. I think it's 2 years. I think it was a year ago I was in your space. How does the San Francisco office interact with Abu Dhabi's tech ecosystem? And what more can you tell us in general about what you're doing in what Mubarak Capital Ventures is doing in San Francisco, please?
Sure, Danny, thank you. Yeah, so I think what's important to understand is when Mubarak decided to kind of go into the venture space, it was part of a larger strategy of increasing our portfolio in technology. And to that extent, it was very critical for us to build a team in San Francisco that was from Mubarak and has a link with Abu Dhabi. So we could have used the traditional path of hiring some people, new guys, and put them in San Francisco and go do a bunch of great investments. But we instead have decided to build this internally. And literally, this is what happened: is we put a bunch of guys who've been working together for 10 years or so in Abu Dhabi, and we we're commuting between Abu Dhabi and San Francisco, building kind of our venture platform. And slowly but surely, most of the guys were buying one-way tickets there. But what you now essentially have between San Francisco, and we have also an office in London that also where we invest into the venture-backed companies, you have a core of Abu Dhabi kind of groomed and Mubarak people who are running kind of investments for us there, and who know very well what's happening here in Abu Dhabi and the ecosystem, and can immediately link opportunities that they see in that ecosystem here back to Abu Dhabi.
Okay.
You're on mute.
Yeah, thank you. I'm trying to look at some of the questions that have been coming in while you were speaking a little bit. Can you just, how did people react to you and to Mubarak when they, this Middle East venture arm out in someplace in Abu Dhabi in the middle of the quote unquote Arabian Gulf is coming to San Francisco? What was the reaction?
You had two camps. You had obviously the camp that was supportive and helping us out, and you had a lot of skeptics as well during our road. A lot of people were saying, you're coming here because venture is cool and sexy right now, but once the bubble bursts, you'll be gone. But and that's fine. I think that comes with the territory. But I think as we kind of progressed, in the seriousness that we've shown, the dedication, the team is on the ground. We've expanded our footprint, not only just in the US. We're doing Europe. We're doing now in the Middle East. We're working closely now that with the Abraham Accords, we're thinking about kind of expanding into the Israel region. Of course, we're doing as well, we've been doing a lot of work in China as well. So this is a very serious effort. This effort is very well kind of orchestrated at the early stage, but you will start seeing us also being a lot more active at the later stage, which you've already kind of seen as well from the news lately.
Okay, thank you. May, how's the connection between Abu Dhabi and Silicon Valley evolved over time? Obviously, it's significantly from the standpoint of Mubarak making a decision to deploy and be on the ground there is a huge development in the evolution. But what sorts of exchanges have been most beneficial for the UAE in that regard?
Yeah, I've now been here for almost 5 years, moved from the UAE to the Valley to work on our startup. And in 5 years, I feel like there's been 20 years of progress. And I think two things have made a really big difference. One is Amar's incredible work setting up Mubadala Ventures. And so definitely, was kind of front line to that skepticism, and I've seen that recede. Definitely been incredible to see Mubadala's name in headlines, in great funding announcements alongside, the top tier of the Valley VCs. And, from when I arrived here, from, hearing the random VC knowing where I was from, saying things like, oh, Mudabala, yeah, we've approached them as LPs, etc. Now nobody mispronounces it, that's for sure. So I think there is, that has had just an incredible impact. And then some of the great work, that Ahmed Al-Adia has done for a decade plus. And so, the folks who raise money for some of the top funds, that is a well-known treaded path to Abu Dhabi. And that has produced a lot of really goodwill. There's a lot of respect for Adia as a LP in these funds, and in their sophistication and maturity in choosing managers. And they've backed some folks and took chances on folks and done incredibly well. And I think that's earned them a huge amount of respect. So there's just a lot of respect for the ecosystem as a financial partner already. And so building on top of that for what Hub71 is doing is just the logical next step.
Thank you so much, May. Amr, we're getting a lot of questions from the audience about technology and verticals for investment and focus. And that's actually the next series of questions that we have. So why don't we turn to some of the specifics of the tech ecosystem and discuss some of the technologies that are driving change in the UAE. From your perspective of Mubarak's venture arm, Amr, which types of disruptive technologies are making the waves right now in the UAE? And where do you see focus for the near term, for the next couple of years?
Yeah, sure. I think there are two ways to answer this question. Number one is it's technology led, and there's also kind of business kind of plan led. So I think obviously we're in this part of the region. We're a little bit behind on kind of the innovation. So there's a lot of opportunity to kind of take proven concepts that have worked well in the US and Europe and come and innovate and implement them here. The market's pretty big if you kind of put it all together. So that's a core focus for us. On the technology end, though, I would say food security has always been a very big topic for us, and the crisis has just accelerated our focus here. We have not, as Mubarak, invested yet in a business like that, but we've looked at a lot of them. Unfortunately, some of them are just a little bit kind of outside of the valuation that we would like them. But they're the likes of Aerofarms or Pure Harvest. They're doing incredible work here. It's an incredibly important kind of part of the ecosystem that from a leadership perspective, there's a lot of focus on. So I expect to see a lot more there. A second element, I think, kind of, leveraging kind of the infrastructure that ADGM has put in place. John is probably the benefactor of there. ADGM has put a very strong regulation around, or very good regulation around, kind of, blockchain when it comes to cryptocurrencies. And I expect a lot more companies to kind of come and utilize that framework. And I think the third one is that I would say is also pretty interesting. Something we're looking at is IoT when it relates to kind of Industry 4.0. We have a lot of factories, we have a lot of oil fields, we have a lot of dispersed areas in Abu Dhabi, and I think technology that's coming in to help run those businesses, create more efficiencies, is going to be very interesting for us as well.
Thank you, Amr. When I was out in the office in San Francisco over a year ago, there was a lot of focus on life sciences companies as well. And I think that's still a huge focus going forward. And a question from the audience about biotech startups. So I was wondering if anyone wants to just quickly, a little two-finger intervention, say a few words about life sciences, biotech, pharma. What's the appetite there for those in those verticals? Is that you, Ahmed, maybe, or is that May to say a few words?
I think everyone would have a view there, but happy to take it. From Hub71 perspective, just quickly, sector agnostic, happy to take on really any subsectors within technology, but Amr as an investor and May in her capacity might have, I'm sure, different preferences.
May, Amr, life sciences, pharma, biotech, vaccine development for the future.
I'll give May the floor here.
Maybe I combine it with the question about SaaS, and I think the answer really depends, which is not a fun answer, but what vertical, what's the market? The UAE is an incredible place for entry-level technical talent. There are 5 or 6 different AI degrees in the country right now. And so I can certainly imagine for biotech folks who want to do kind of early stage research, that would be interesting. So life cycle vertical matters a lot in this. For the SaaS question in the UAE, I think that's less straightforward than biotech or pharma, that I would highly encourage. I think on SaaS, again, it depends on vertical and the stage of company that you sell to. There aren't a lot of SMEs in the UAE, and so if you're trying to sell software to mom and pop shops, it's too small a market probably for an early stage company to cut its teeth. But if you're a SaaS company that sells to government or oil and gas, hell yeah. There are a number of companies that have done incredibly well doing that in the region, especially if you think about the Gulf more broadly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then the next question here was speaking to machine learning, in particular, how has the UAE implemented AI? Can you speak to that a little bit, May, and what are the connections there?
Sure. I think the incredible thing that the UAE has done is really take kind of a national programmatic approach, and that is definitely head and shoulders ahead of many countries, even the US. So it's certainly early days everywhere in terms of, actualizing a lot of this technology and kind of the day-to-day operation of government. The UAE is definitely leading. There's a national program for artificial intelligence that's funded a lot of education programs, that's funded a lot of research. There is a UAE Council for Artificial Intelligence. This is a national council. There's a government program to develop and integrate AI technology into government operations, and that includes municipalities, so smart cities. It includes the Ministry of Education. There's an AI ethics advisory board that's also national. So some pretty cool things, and they were definitely ahead of the curve on smart government. And that's not all AI, of course, but it definitely allowed folks to in the government, I think, to work remotely, and those are just investments you have to make early to not be disrupted by global pandemics. And I think the UAE really led the way there. So, you know, I think the takeaway is if you sell AI to government, whether it's education or smart cities, there's just really not very many places that are better to do it than the UAE.
Thank you. And Omar Alama is a colleague and a friend. Yeah, I think he's the first minister of artificial intelligence in any country, in any government in the world. An amazing, amazing vision for where he wants to see AI go in the future. And I ask him all the time when I interview him, what keeps him up at night? And he always answers me that making sure AI turns out to be one of those forces for good in the world and not a force for evil or bad. So he's very, very focused on that. And then of course you have the new University of AI in Abu Dhabi. I mean, it's just amazing the developments and the forward thinking and the forward looking and with regard to this sector and vertical in particular, which is going to drive almost everything in digital in the future, if it's not already, for sure. Ahmed, I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to ask you what types of companies do well at Hub71, and can you share some specific success stories that you want to show pride in here on the webinar today? And it's totally fine to do that, please.
Thank you, Danny. No, I say this regularly. We love all our startups equally. Some startups are have got the ball rolling. But that being said, we believe that all the startups we have selected to be part of the Hub71 community and incentive program, what we see in them is fire, is drive to kind of deliver their on their businesses. And actually that's maybe the first point I'd like to touch on, like what do we look for? And for me, when we say what does a successful startup looks like, is really what we are looking for when we meet different startups. I think, and well, I know, the first and foremost, you always kind of are on the lookout for disruptive technology. And where you really see there's a movement, and we touched on this topic a bit earlier in this panel, where we really see a kind of huge movement and seismic shift in a certain way, and we will kind of capture these opportunities and really see and would love to see them grow out of the Hub71 community and to a global level. Two, and that's I guess more in tune with what you have been seeing and the market of ours, is those startups that address or resolve existing problems in innovative ways. And there are a few examples here that you've seen, and whether it's Kareem's or whether the souks of the UAE that have went on and gone to greater things. So you do want to see some of these. We are on the lookout of these that really do create that localization of existing products or technologies, but really specified for the markets they operate, and those are the ones that we really see are successful. I think one personally that I'm very close to is love to see founders that are, and I'm quoting Amr here, he said it once in a different panel, who are obsessed, who really are kind of passionate about their business, who are ready to kind of drive their team in the best way, really be inspirational, have a vision of what they want this industry to become, and getting ready to pivot. And an example here of one that recently had similar experience is a startup we called Addenda, that traditionally focused on insurtech in the region, very focused on B2B model. And what the startup decided to do recently is pivot that into a more customer-facing approach, kind of through a reward system and different offerings. And we see, and those are one, like even historically, these are kind of, it's one example of a startup that has been on a great track and still decided to go and take the extra mile. I mean, goes without saying, John, who is with us on this, we're great fans. John has actually been one of the earlier adopters of Hub71, and he has been with us for the kind of longest part of this journey. Very driven and passionate. And by the way, like I know John is part of the ecosystem, but this was not fed to him any kind of, and we do really appreciate how positive he really kind of came in to see that when it started within ADGM as a regulator here, and then complemented by Hub71 as a tech ecosystem builder, really saw the potential and opportunity here, and keeps growing his platform. And really, the where John is, and sorry, I'm speaking on behalf, I'm sure you're going to build on this, John, really kind of extending his reach in international markets. And he can tell you about the relationships he has developed and the relationships he had, and still driving his business out of here. Just kind of goes to show you the type of infrastructure and capabilities that we aim to provide. Well, one last thought to leave this with is I was with a colleague, partner also yesterday, and one of the things he told me, like, and I think resonated really well with me, and maybe pretty obvious, was critical for any startup when you're starting in the Middle East, is to always think global. Your product, you do not constrain the kind of limits or your vision of your product. You really want to kind of build a global product that has to be localized, but it is a global product.
Thank you, Ahmed. John, we're going to just change the order of the question here a little bit, because Ahmed made such a nice segue to talk about the UAE as a regional leader and trendsetter when it comes to disruptive technologies and other technologies. We've seen many companies set up their regional headquarters in the UAE and Abu Dhabi or Dubai, and then later expand into the broader Middle East, North Africa region. And also India, setting up in the UAE and accessing the Indian market. This is in keeping with the UAE's reputation as the region's scale-up nation. We you know, in the new relationship with the Abraham Accords with Israel, we call Israel the startup nation, but we're calling the UAE now the scale-up nation. So John, does Securency have plans to expand beyond the UAE? How have you reached the broader Middle East, North Africa region from your offices in Abu Dhabi at Hub71?
Yeah, it's a great point, Danny, and you know, I do want to take a moment and say thank you, Ahmed. I appreciate the plug and certainly all the love that the Hub71 community is extended to us. You guys are doing a great job of giving us all of the resources we need to be successful, and it's very much appreciated. You know, with regard to your question, Danny, you know, so ADGM Abu Dhabi is our international headquarters, and for founders that are considering this is a place that they may want to come and begin to grow their company or expand their company and leverage the resources that are here, there are many reasons why this is a good decision. Far too many to kind of include on a short list or a short call here, but one of them is just strategic location. You know, in addition to the tax advantages that the jurisdiction has to offer, an advantage in addition to the incentives that the area has to offer, the regulatory environment, the progressiveness of a tech-forward community, you do have tremendous access here to North Africa, to the other GCC countries. It's a short flight when COVID permits to fly to Europe, to fly to Singapore, to fly to India. So it is a tremendous hub, effectively, for business and expansion internationally. So Securency does have intentions to grow as we scale up. Firstly, we will begin scaling up within the GCC. Part of the bridge that has been built thus far has been outreach to the regulators in those jurisdictions. So the Capital Market Authority of Saudi Arabia, of Bahrain, of Kenya, our work with DFSA in Dubai, all of which comes as a result of working closely with a fantastic partner in the Abu Dhabi global market and the FSRA here in the UAE. But being able to expand into other markets like Singapore, like Australia, and like Europe are all very much part of our roadmap, our commercial roadmap and our technology roadmap.
Thank you so much. That's great. Along the same lines, Ahmed, how can you describe how companies based at Hub71 can expand beyond the UAE? And have you seen many startups tap into the wider regional market so far?
Sorry, John. I think sorry, Danny. I think I lost you there, but I think I got the gist of the question. And now, obviously, we're kind of faced with the. I think the COVID pandemic came with its opportunities and challenges, and one of them was kind of people really kind of taking a step back, really thinking about how to figure out their business. Now, the way Hub71 does work with its community of startup, it is a launchpad from Abu Dhabi to the world. It is leveraging, it is startups who come to set up shop here, leveraging our network of relationship and fund partners and international network, I would say, to really think beyond a single market and to have that global thinking. It's a very important mantra and, of how we drive Hub71 to be a global ecosystem. Just recently, we announced it's one step of many. We announced actually a couple of relationships in the past couple of weeks. One with BPI France, which signifies the importance of having that access to that economy, leveraging our strong partnerships and our strong ties between the UAE and France. Similarly, recently we announced also a relationship and an agreement with the Ministry of Communications and Information Technology in Saudi Arabia, which sees us have a bilateral relationship in growing each other's ecosystem. Saudi, goes without saying, is a big and important market for us in the region, and it's this type of approach that we want to continue to build on and propagate as we progress. And we talk to multiple entities from different parts of the world. There's a few that will continue coming, and to really us see that we can channel. It goes both ways. We want to kind of create and promote the influx of opportunities, whether startups or partners that want to get access to the UAE and this part of the world, but on the flip side, making sure our community are able to leverage this global network that we have.
Okay, thank you. Very good. We're going to come back to the topic of funding for a few minutes. We're coming up on the last 10 minutes of the webinar here, but there's been a number of questions on the chat that you might all look over. But on the topic of funding, what are some challenges startups and entrepreneurs face when looking to secure investment in the UAE? And what are some solution or tools startups, companies based in Abu Dhabi can tap into? And Amr, I'm going to turn to you on that and ask you, just in general, to provide advice, what advice you would give startups and entrepreneurs based on your experience being on the venture side of the equation?
I guess this question is targeted towards startups from the US, correct, Danny? Yeah, okay. So I think we've actually kind of, I'm proud to say we already have invested in, as Mubarak from our Middle Eastern fund, we already invested in 2 startups that came from the US and here. So the ball is already rolling, and we're constantly looking at more and more opportunities. I think the number one lens for us is actually, is there a solid business case for a company to come here and kind of leverage what we have in Abu Dhabi? You know, does it make sense? Can we connect those? You know, can we connect that business with the wider portfolio that we own, or the wider Abu Dhabi kind of network that we work with? If the answer to those questions is yes, then it's pretty straightforward for us to kind of start kind of the dialogue around investment and funding. And I think, there are more and more, funding pools of capital available now in Abu Dhabi. There's us, our friends at ADQ are also very active at this stage. And there's also a lot of investors here in the UAE between Dubai and Abu Dhabi that are very actively looking to invest as well. So there is no lack of capital at this stage seeking opportunity here in the UAE. I think the most important part is for us to actually see that there's a reason for these companies to be here, and there's an opportunity that we can leverage and support them to grow in the region.
That's fantastic. I'm gonna, just try to pull some of this together a little bit. What are some of, and John and others, I want to pull you into this last series of questions. What are some of the biggest mistakes that are made? And from your experience, John, if you had to do something over again, and May and Amr and Ahmed, what are some of the common mistakes that you see people make trying to come access the market, access the opportunity? Your top 2 or 3 recommendations. John, why don't we start with you real quick?
Yeah, great question, and I appreciate the opportunity to kind of contribute to the answer. I think one of the things that's most important for founders who are looking to raise capital in the Middle East, particularly in the UAE, is that it's more than that investors are looking for more than just a return opportunity through investment. They're really looking for founders who have an interest in the UAE and in the region, that are going to contribute in ways that go beyond the returns and a financial forecast. It's about impact. It's about commitment to the community. Coming here, for me, I moved here 3 years ago. Great opportunity for me and my family to come and experience a new part of the world, a new community to be a part of. It's an incredibly diverse community. If I understand correctly, somewhere around 85% of the residents of the UAE are expats, or who've come here from different parts of the world. So it's a tremendous place to live. And I would say that for any founder who's looking to raise capital and comes in and looks for high net worth investors, or looks for family offices or for VCs, but doesn't have a real commitment to the region, you're probably going to leave disappointed or empty-handed. If, on the other hand, you come here with the mindset that you really want to embrace the opportunities that are here, and if you haven't, picked up on the course of this call, there are, just an unbelievable number of resources that are available to be successful in this market. Tremendous visionaries who set conditions through regulation, through a host of other resources that make it very possible to be extremely successful here. That would be my advice. Come here with the mindset that you are going to immerse yourself in the community, immerse yourself in the ecosystem, contribute to it in a way that is seen as a return on your time and your investment and their investment in you. So that would be my advice.
John, that's an amazing testament. Thank you. You captured it and encapsulated it just perfectly. Ahmed, Amr, May, do you want to add anything to that, or on those different perspectives?
I love John's perspective so much. I think from a founder perspective, don't lose sight of the fact that these are very sophisticated investors, and I think folks behind Hub71 can invest anywhere in the world, and they're really looking for companies that would thrive in a number of different places. So and this isn't going against what John is saying. They are certainly looking for people who are going to invest in the ecosystem. But the unspoken thing folks are looking for is to invest in teams that are going to be an inevitable success no matter where they set up, because of the vision, the drive, the relentlessness that Ahmed and Ahmed were talking about. So it's not the easy way out.
Well, it might not be the easy way out, but it's certainly an exhilarating experience and a wonderful ride for sure. And to John's point, these new economies of the Middle East region, particularly in the UAE, are the future. They are the new Singapores. They are the green shoots. So it's very, very important to be part of it. Amr, Ahmed, do you want to add anything to this conversation in that regard?
Sure, definitely. I think one point to complement what's said, I think it is the fear, and I hate saying the word failure, but it is the fear of failure. And let me put this in context. And I don't think you really fail. It's either you succeed or you learn. But you don't want to be in a journey where you are not letting go of a business that has run its course. You need to be ready to hang up your gloves, your boots, and be inspired by the statistic that second-time entrepreneurs are more likely to succeed. And that doesn't mean that keep going with the existing business. It means you set up a new business. You continue to be driven. You're building off of that. think that's an important lesson. I know we have a tendency, and all of us would have a tendency with that, when we're too invested in a certain project, certain initiative, etc., it becomes tough to, and we lose sight of that.
Amr?
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I would like to say at the end is that look, Abu Dhabi is in a very unique time, and it's in a very unique place for us when it comes to startups and the ecosystem. It's a very unique place because, you know, the focus that this sector has from the leadership is immense. It's laser focus. The team at Hub71 are only 2 phone calls away from the president of the nation. There's no other country in the world that you can say that. You know, things can happen, things can move at light speed in this country. Where nowhere else can something like that can happen. So, you know, the interest that the leadership of this country has put, and the investment that the leadership of this country has put into making sure that this ecosystem is going to thrive is an opportunity for everyone to take advantage of right now, and the time is now. You know, in a few years, the ecosystem is going to mature, and it's going to be much more difficult, and, you know, it's going to be a different kind of market, but it's still going to be great, but, you know, it's just going to be that more difficult to kind of get to what you want to get. So I think it's an amazing time right now to be here.
So getting in on the ground floor in some regards, or the
yes.
first floor, now's the
Yeah.
time to do that. I
Yeah.
hear what you're saying, loud and clear, loud and clear. The last question here is supposed to be about COVID and the future. I mean, I think I'd sort of like to wrap it up by just asking all of you, how's this virtual environment working for you in your business every day? Are you ready to get on airplanes and travel again soon? Are we going to be on these computers and doing these webinars for the next 6 months or a year? I mean, obviously, we're getting a lot of work done. It's very efficient. It's very effective. But how does not having the interpersonal like we used to have, how's it affecting your business right now? I think that's the question I'd like to end on. How do you feel like you're just as effective, or can be mostly effective? And when do you see it changing? Ahmed, I'm going to give you the sort of the penultimate last word here.
Thank you, Danny. I think it's two-pronged. So one, from my personal perspective, yes, I agree with you. Too productive for my liking. But yeah, wouldn't you definitely do miss the kind of travel aspect of it. But I must say that we've been kind of on the course recently as a team, where we're kind of we have this journey of working remotely 1 week and then working in the office week, and there are pros and cons with everything. I agree with the effectiveness, but the engagement and building those relationships to drive productivity is also important, and this is something I have realized. Very tough to kind of drive the same level of engagement and productivity with people you have not had that element with. From a Hub71 perspective, what we kind of what COVID-19 showed us is largely, when we think about the initiative at the macro level, it is about clustering. It is about kind of bringing the elements of the ecosystem together, provide that clustering impact to drive the economy. If anything, it showed that how important it is to have a localized community that offers and can build together, regardless of the barriers, whether it's manufactured barriers or natural causes, like in this case. There's always an opportunity, and it further justified the importance of technology in today's world. If anything, if this happened 20-25 years ago, the disruption would have been large. I think a lot of people don't realize how, or maybe they have, and put it into perspective, that actually I'm sure you're keeping up, the markets are doing decent, and people have adapted quite quickly. And I think when we started this, we were just kind of thinking that it might last a bit longer. Sorry, I extended a bit longer, maybe.
No, that's fine. I think you made two very important points. You commented on the way that it's brought the team together, and I think that's very, very true. It's true in our perspective, in our experience, and how quickly we all have adapted to this at the end of the day, and how quickly we're going to probably adapt again. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we've come to the end of today's session, and I'd like to thank today's panelists for a very informative conversation. Thank you also to Hub71 and TechWadi for putting this event together. And would like to thank everyone who has joined us, and please stay safe. Have a great rest of the day. It's getting late in the evening in the UAE, or later in the evening in the UAE. And truly, truly thank you again, and look forward to seeing you all soon, sometime in person. All best wishes. Thank you.